Hello, hello, hello. It has been quite a while, by which I mean it has been over a week, and I have been streaming constantly over this last week because we played through almost all, or actually all, of 4.2's new story content, but there's a lot of non-story content that I have to get through in that in Honkai Star Rail. But if you were catching me at the tail end of yesterday's pool stream, you might have noticed that I might have been coming down with a cold, and after waking up today, I almost definitely have a cold. I can barely breathe through my nose at all, so if my voice sounds a little bit off, that's probably why. Lastly, if you didn't know that I was streaming yesterday, and you don't know that I planned on streaming today, then you should probably join my Discord, because it's the best way to stay informed on what I'm doing and when I'm doing it, as well as where I'm doing it and what I will be doing when I do it. The who, what, when, where, and why. That being said, links to the Discord are where links are. We stream several times a week, usually at least 2, and 3 if there's a One Piece chapter that week sometimes, of which this week there is. So, if you want to stay informed, that's how you do it. We do a multitude of content around here. I've been playing a lot of Honkai Star Rail lately because there's a new patch out, but I also play card games. I do reactions to manga like this, as well as a open request for it. If there's stuff that people want me to react to, I am willing to do it, if there is enough reason given or interest. But I primarily do this as a hobby, because it's just my way of streaming. My point of streaming is to just share my hobbies with y'all. I find that there's a real base out there for React content, so I feel like people want to see stuff that they've enjoyed and they want to see other people enjoy it, so I'm putting a lot of this stuff out there into the ether so people who want to see it can see it. Because I want to share my experiences with others. Without further ado, I feel like I've gone long enough for this intro, so I guess we should just move on to page 1 of the new One Piece chapter. Chapter 1181, 1181, God and Devil. Which makes me think that, I guess if I remember correctly, last week's chapter we ended off with Loki coming face to face with Emu in the flesh. So, is Loki the god in this scenario? I would assume he is, because Emu has been portrayed very much as a devil, but depending on perspectives, Emu is the god and Loki is the devil. Such is a matter of perspective. I'm drinking pineapple juice for those who are curious. All right. Or to be more specific, I'm drinking vitamin-flavored pineapple juice. Or pineapple juice-flavored vitamin water. That's what. I'm not entirely all ears. If I miss something, feel free to bring it up in the comments, because I am not fully well right now. I'm not so ill that I wouldn't stream this, because it's going to take 30 to 45 minutes of my day tops. So, we have another viewer request, or reader request, is the art for this panel for page 1. It is Carrot singing and walking over pan sharks lined up on the sea, which is a request, if that. The only thing that I would like to point out that drew my attention is they got her wearing a puffy jacket that has Queen written on her arm, which, as she's also wearing a crown too, so actually it's, I guess, just a sly little reminder that the last time we saw Carrot, and by proxy the next time we see Carrot, she will be the new Queen of Zou. Or the Minks as a tribe? I don't know the politics of the Minks. I'm not super familiar with the way they run things over there. Because Duke Dogstorm and Master Cat Viper are staying on Wano as vassals. Alright. Without further ado, I think we should just move on to pages 2 and 3. I might pause a few times throughout because I will have to catch my voice because I am losing it. Because the phlegm from my nose is dripping into my throat. Although I believe I could take something for that real quick. I haven't been to a drugstore in a while. So this is, I guess, just a reminder that I haven't been sick in several months. So I don't really have any medicine lying around. Or the medicine I do have lying around is thin and far running out. All right. Let's move on to pages 2 and 3. Well, we're picking up right where we left off, which is a little bit of a flashback of Harold, because that was what was mentioned by Emu to Loki. Yeah, it's a flashback of Harold saying that Harold needs to die for Loki to take the throne. And then we cut to Loki in the present. He died at the age of 144, but giants lived to be 300 years old naturally. It wasn't his time to go yet. So I take it you're the one who manipulated and killed my father. The one who suffered the greatest setback was Moo. I still haven't really gotten used to the fact that Emu uses Moo as their chosen, like, I pronoun in Japanese, which I'm even less caught off guard by the fact that they decided to keep it in the Viz translation. Well, it looks like that's enough talking, because Loki's already moving to an overhead smash with Ragnar at the top of page 2, or at the top of page 3. Tell me, once I'm dead, my reputation means nothing to me. All that matters is Elbaph's future. We're just getting Harold flashback quotes throughout the panel pages. Alright. The hell did you do to my old man? It looks like lightning is about to strike down to match wherever his hammer is going to land. However, in the last chapter, we saw Emu basically easily deflect Zoro, easily deflect Sanji, easily deal with Haruden and Stanson, and I guess chop the fingers off of Gerd. Or, I guess, like, a couple of fingers, like 2 to 4. I don't remember exactly how many. So I don't imagine this attack is going to fully land. But I could be wrong. Let's move on to pages 4 and 5 to find out. Ragna Izuchi. Alrighty. So hammer. One panel of hammer. Another panel of hammer. And then we get some weird fiery demon spirit thingy on Emu's hand. He sits it out. Hammer matches. Or actually, it looks like the hammer stops without even touching it, to be honest. And then just a really good action panel of lightning striking. Also, I should point out that there's a cute little squirrel face on the side of Loki's hammer, because of course there is. And that is all, in that vivid description that I've just given, all that happens on these 2 pages. Because it's 4 panels, basically. 4 panels and like a little half panel on the side. Not a whole lot going on here. I've been very vocal about this. I'm not a big fan of action chapters. Meaning, like, I would be really annoyed if we get to, like, this point in the anime, and, like, they adapt less than half a chapter. Because if they sometimes adapt less than half a chapter, when it's an action chapter, that means 3 or 4 punches could take up. This is one attack. One swing of a hammer, and it's taking up, like, 4 to 5 panels across 2 pages. We have basically ground the story to a standstill in the span of 2 pages. We're 5 pages into a chapter, and what has happened? We got a flashback quote from Harold, and then Loki and Emu said one line of dialogue to each other, and Loki has swung his hammer 1 time. 5 pages into a chapter, by the way. We are 1/3 done with the chapter, roughly, already. Alright, let's move on to page 6 and 7. Let's see, what do we got going on here? I cannot make out what is happening in these top 2 panels. It looks like everybody that is not Loki and Emu is getting blown back by the impact of this clash. We see like Jinbei shielding himself in the corner at one point. Loki seems upset that Emu blocked that. What are those black flames? What powers do you have? All right, here we go again. Omen. This is my military might. Oh, he turned into a giant? He's almost the same size as Loki in the frame in the next couple panels. A power that lurks within all things. And now he has made his black flame into a mace, and he's smacking back with Loki's hammer. Or maybe he's just continuing to push back. I don't know. Maybe it looks like he's putting it on his weapon and swinging with it like it's a giant weapon now. So, we have now 7 pages into the story of this action chapter. One attack, blocked. Another attack. And it's hitting Loki's hammer and pushing him back, apparently, based on the way that the paneling is showing. So each member of this fight has thrown one attack, I would like to point out, and we are 7 pages in. Alrighty, let's move on to pages 8 and 9. Blade of Judgment Nemesis. Is that the... Oh, that looks bad. So Emo and Loki definitely look to be very comparable in size to one another right now. And it looks like Emu has pulled a sword out of thin air, and it is now already stabbing through Loki. I'm assuming he turned his weapon that he was already holding into a sword, and it's going now through Loki. I'd also like to just bring up, again, from people who may have forgotten, but, like, Loki's injuries from Cerberus / Shamrock were so bad that Chopper said he shouldn't even be up and about for, like, 3 months. So, people that want to do power scaling or whatever could also argue that you got to remember that Emu is sick here, probably, with a time limit, and Loki is also very heavily injured fighting Emu right now. Is it the nature of man to crave strength? Oh, it is the nature of man to crave strength. However, when power so lusted after is too easily gained, corruption, covenants, the power of omen, these forms the Trinity. These form the Trinity. Okay. Yeah. Covenants is choosing servitude out of self-interest. The power of omen, the envy that seeks to achieve one's goals. And corruption is when power is lusted after. Okay. Interesting. So corruption, covenants, and the power of omen. These are the holy trinity of Emu, I guess. The power of omen is kind of vague, and it can sound good or bad, but the covenants are also vague. It could be good or bad. But corruption is very inherently bad, and I don't know if you should be considering that part of your holy trinity. If I was going to call anything a holy trinity, it'd be like I say, my holy trinity is pie, water, and the manipulation of evil people through capitalistic greed. One of these 3 things clearly doesn't belong here, right? Well, anywho, we got something interesting out of these 2 pages, and I'm actually really enjoying these 2 pages. The images on the panels don't seem to matter too much, but for the image, for the panel that says corruption, it's showing Dory and Broggy when they got Dami reversied. Covenants, it shows the Depths Covenant symbol on Harold's arm from when he became, I guess, a higher ranking member of the Holy Knights. I don't really remember the specifics on that. And then the power of omen just appears to be showing Emu's face and Loki about to, I guess, throw another attack, I guess. Anyway, I feel like we have covered this in enough detail, so I think we can just move on. I'm going to turn this music up a bit, just because I can. Alright. pages 10 and 11. Let's go. Oh, okay, the speech hasn't ended yet. Of what we call domination. Okay, so going back to the previous page, corruption, covenants, and the power of omen. This is the holy trinity of domination. Okay, it makes a little bit more sense that this holy trinity is a farce. I'm also exaggerating. It doesn't say holy trinity, it just says the trinity. So maybe it's the unholy trinity. Who knows? So domination is made up of three things. Corruption, covenants, and the power of omen. What wild and wacky world of rubber pirates we live in. I shall give thee the power of a god to step beyond all others. And then Loki smacks back with his hammer. I didn't ask. We see a giant wide shot of Elbaph with the giant sword sticking out of the side of the tree, which I kind of forgot about. And then we cut to, I guess, Loki huffing and wheezing after having hit Emu with the hammer. So your power is God's domination. I think you mean a contract with the devil. I guess that is one way. Oh, and here we go with Emu's response to that. God, devil, what is the difference? Like I said at the top of the chapter, with the name of the chapter on page 1, who's the god and who's the devil is just a matter of perspective. But Emu has taken that to a next level, which is, what is the difference between a god and a devil? I bet those Satan-worshipping morons on Lazy Bones Island definitely don't care about the difference between a god and a devil. They're Satan worshippers over there. Or I guess they worship Brook now? It's very vague. I don't remember. I don't know if we've cut back to that island in a long time. Anywho, that concludes what's happening on pages 10 and 11. We finished the conclusion of Emu's speech on the previous 2 pages, while then getting Loki to have one more attack in, and then a little bit of a more back and forth. We don't know where Emu is, where he is standing when he responds to Loki's taunt here, unless he's that speck in the distance, after having been smashed by Loki's hammer. Yeah, I guess assume he just reformed and he has like regen like all the other Holy Knights do. So anyway, let's move on to pages 12 and 13. I don't give a crap, no one lords over me. Oh, he's got the wings, so maybe he was up in the air. Okay. Domination is the only true bliss in the world. Isn't that right? Isn't that right, Joy Boy? What is this panel of Emu screaming Joy Boy with his jaw stretched so far down the panel? And we get a cutaway to Luffy eating with like a bolt of lightning, it looks like, hitting Luffy, or I guess it's hockey. Huff, huff, gubba girl, gotta eat more. Herb gulp gwa. Never felt this before. Dulg gulg num num. Damn, it's so heavy and harsh. Wharf chomp munch. What's with that guy's hockey? Chunk glorp gurk. Can't win without a full stomach. Mumph mumph more. So yeah, it looks like Emu is calling out Joy Boy, and we just cut to Luffy stuffing his face, because of course we are. He used Gear 5 for who knows how long. He was in that Gear 5 form when they were dealing with the Holy Knights earlier, and saving the kids and whatnot. So it makes sense he needs to recharge. So I guess Loki's goal in this fight is not really so much to win, as it is to stall long enough for Luffy to finish eating. Which, from the panels we get on this page, it doesn't look like Luffy is anywhere near close to done eating yet. Alrighty, let's go to page 14 and 15. I'm betting there's only going to be 17 pages this chapter. I was wrong. 14 and 15 is the last 2 pages? I see the to be continued. And you could probably see it right here, too. What's wrong? Got distracted? Then you don't respect me enough. And then he baseball hammers Emu across Elbaph into what I assume is straight into the tree. Ooh, cough. Oh, he's going into the dragon form. Need hugger. And now he's going to shoot a giant lightning ball into him. Thorheim. So thou art back. Okay. Interesting. And that's where we end the chapter on, I guess. We haven't even been reading for 25 minutes yet, and we're done. So when I was making that joke on page 5, that we were barely a third through, that wasn't an exaggeration. This is a 15-page chapter. That was a third of the way through. Well, let's go through the highlights, and as a fun little added bonus, let's count how many attacks were exchanged in this fight. So, back to pages 2 and 3. We have Loki's initial hammer swing that gets blocked. That's 1. Then we have Emu's Omen attack, where he knocks Loki's hammer back. That's 2. Then we have Emu's sword stabbing. That's 3. Then we have Loki throwing a second hammer hit, which lands or gets dodged. It's a little bit anticlimactic. No, it hits him on the face. It's a little bit more clear on second read through. This is 4 attacks so far. The lightning boosted hammer strike. And then from Loki, we get one more hammer strike where it bats Emu across, followed by a ball of lightning from dragon form. That is 7 attacks. 7. And I think only one of them was emus? 2 of them were emus. That's 7 attacks in 15 pages. Ugh. Well, as I've mentioned, I'm not feeling so well. So, highlight of the chapter. What do I want to say is the highlight of the chapter, considering it's pretty much action all the way through? I guess the highlight of the chapter for me is the unholy trinity of domination, which is spread across pages 9 and 10. We have corruption, we have covenants, and we have the power of Omen. And I'm going to say that's the highlight of the chapter because almost everything else is action. And if I had to pick a moment in the action that stands out to me, it's probably this sword on page 8, where Emu turns his weapon into a sword and stabs Loki through. Which I guess is also pretty cool just to say that Emu can grow and change their size to appear however big they want to be. That's kind of neat in and of itself. But if I had to pick another action moment, it'd probably be these final 2 pages where Loki sends Emu flying and then turns into the dragon form and then blasts him with another, I guess, Rygo, effectively. His Thorheim attack is basically on par in scale as Anaru's ultimate attack that he needed an Arc Maxim to get off. So that's going to end up my little highlight section. Alright, so let's talk about predictions. Next week, I think we're a little due for another speech from Emu. Maybe we cut to a few other characters' reactions, since the only reactions we got in this chapter was effectively from Jinbei and a few others that were nearby that got knocked back from the clash between Emu and Loki. And then I guess a reaction of Luffy just eating, if we even call that a reaction. So next chapter, I feel like we might see possibly the end of this fight, which is not saying much because very little of it has happened. But Loki's pretty injured. I don't think it'll take much from Emu to take out Loki. I think Emu only needs is a few good hits in. Because despite how many hits Loki has landed on Emu, Emu hasn't really shown that they're suffering from any substantial damage per se. Then, maybe we cut to Luffy having finished eating, or Luffy is not finished eating, and then is tired and taking a nap or something, and then we need somebody else to hold off until Luffy's done, before Luffy can get his lumps in. So, I guess all that's really prediction is pretty straightforward. This is an action chapter. I expect that we're going to have more action chapters next week, so I guess we'll cut this prediction section short, because I don't really have much more to add than that. So, without further ado, as we move into the outro, just a reminder that I do this basically every week. If you want to see my continued reaction to the Elbaph arc, let me know. If there's other stuff you would like to see my reaction to, let me know. Once again, join the Discord if you want to stay informed of what I'm doing and when I'm doing it. And then lastly, but not least, stay safe out there. I will see you all when I see you. Bye-bye.